Hello friends, my name is Shivam from DevOps Schools and I will help you to enable your learning process in various technologies of DevOps, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data and many more. This is our initiative to help you by sharing multiple tutorials and videos. And if you want any specific tutorials or any particular topic, then please do comment in the below comment section and I will help you with it. Also, please subscribe to our premium services on YouTube, which will give you access to more content and videos to enhance your knowledge about all these topics. Also, if you want me to help you with regards to the online trainings and classroom sessions by our qualified trainers, then please do write me at contact@devopsschool.com.
Yesterday we were discussing about basics of domain-driven design, and I discussed about my use case. So today what I will do is I'll continue with my discussion, complete the design and implementation of my cargo tracker application implementation. Then I will run and show the application, and then I will actually start registering our microservices with Eureka and all, right? So let's see today how far it can go. It's a really confusing topic, as I told you. You need to spend time with it so that then only you'll get confidence on it, right? So anyway, once you see the implementation, you will be able to connect all the dots, right? So let's continue with our discussion. So quickly, let me ask you some questions.
Shiva,
What is
before we
yeah.
Shiva,
Please go ahead.
before we get into this domain driven design, right? That is pretty much required to know if we go for a greenfield development, meaning from the scratch, you understand the business and then go for a microservices based implementation.
No,
correct?
even when let's say you are having a monolithic application already.
Okay.
If you want to decompose it,
right?
So of course you need to refactor your total code to decompose it. So based on what? Based on actually business business activities or business requirements, you will have to decompose your monolith into microservices. So this tells how to identify the aggregates, all these things. Yeah. First of all, finish your question. Yeah.
Now that's what I was about to ask. Will this completely apply to only for a new development, or we even for the legacy of modernization also this can be applied? I do not know how much business knowledge we acquire when we go for this legacy modernization approach.
Okay, so actually what this domain driven design is not only it's not only for microservices. See, as I told you, you can apply these DDD concepts for a monolithic application also. In that case, what will happen? For the entire domain, there will be one single bounded context. This will be your design. So suppose, let's say you are starting a new application and you don't know whether to go with a microservices approach or a monolithic approach. You don't know how big your application would be in future. So the best thing they suggest is you design a monolith, but still follow the DDD approach. You still you can just still design your monolithic application following a DDD approach. Again,
are you saying we have not followed this design approach when we implement the monolithic apps in the past? We do, right? We did.
We can, but maybe I'm not sure. Many of the organizations I've seen, like, they may not be implementing. See, if you have already a monolithic application and if you have implemented DDD approach in your monolith, tomorrow when you try to decompose it, it's really easy.
Okay.
So what they say is, when you are starting an application, you don't know whether it is going to be big enough to go ahead with microservices or not. So even if you decide to go with a monolith, start applying these DDD concepts in a monolithic application. Later, once you have your bounded context and all defined, aggregates and all, right? So in future, if you decide to go ahead with microservices, it is easy to take this code out and make them as individual applications. But let's say if you are having a monolithic application which is not following DDD approach today, and if you again want to decompose it into microservices, then again there are multiple approaches. This is not a single approach which I am saying. It's all about your how you want to implement. This is one of the approach. DDD is one of the approach. So again, if you want to decompose your existing monolith into microservices, and if you want to follow this DDD approach, you need to do lot of refactoring. But if you're already following, then it is very simple. That is the one.
Now, can we focus more like this is my source? I have a monolithic apps. So we wanted to transform them or refactor them to microservices based approach. Can we focus our discussion towards that more in terms of spending time?
Okay.
Or,
but in that case, again, there is no rule. That's what I'm saying. There is no rule you should do like this only when you're having a monolithic application. And if you're decomposing, there is no rule saying that, okay, you have to do in this particular way only. There are multiple, everybody does in their own way, but it's all about what I'm saying is based on your business capabilities. If you identify the boundaries first, so you want to decompose. So how many domains are there? You have to identify based on the business capabilities, and you have to first of all design. That's what I'm saying. You have to first of all design and identify your boundaries for each. This is one of the approach. Yeah, I understand. But yeah, my application starting from the scratch, actually, I'm going ahead with this approach.
Okay.
Yeah, so let me try tomorrow. I'll try to come up with one better.
Okay.
I'll try to show you by tomorrow. But today, let me go ahead again. If I change my plan right now, immediately again the flow will be interrupted.
Okay, that's fine. But I think the participants who are here are probably interested to understand from that perspective the legacy app to how do we do that.
Okay.
Meaning from legacy to modernizing or refactoring the application. That's one of the major agenda for the participants who are here.
So let me try to come up with that tomorrow. But let's go ahead with this.
Okay.
This today. Okay.
Right.
Okay. I'll try to do it. I'll try to show one. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So we were discussing yesterday about domain-driven design, and these are the subdomains we understood for cargo tracking application. So my application was cargo tracking. So there are modules. First of all, try to understand this use case. You will get a lot of insights. Actually, if you are actually implementing from scratch, yes, I understand. If you are trying to implement a microservice-based application from scratch, you can even take my example, whatever I am showing as a base, or maybe it can be seen as a reference also. I have designed it very nicely. So first of all, try to understand. Maybe you will get an idea about how to decompose also automatically. Okay, let's see first. So, so our application is what? Cargo tracking application. And I have to, of course, sit with my business analyst and understand the whole domain first. Identify based on the business capabilities and what all services it offers. I have to identify the subdomains. So I identified these are the subdomains: booking, tracking, routing, and handling. So right now, maybe I don't know whether my application is going to be big enough to design as microservices, because we understood there are a lot of challenges with microservices. So at this point of time, let's say you don't know whether you want to go with microservices or not. Better to still follow DDD approach. You can actually create one single bounded context with each subdomain as a module, and each subdomain will have its own domain modeling again, right? So if you follow this approach, tomorrow later, once your use case is becoming complex and if you want to switch to microservices, what you can do, you can easily take out the code of each subdomain because it's having its own domain model, right? So you can actually make it as microservices. So you can decide whether you want a single bounded context or multiple bounded contexts. Okay, so if I want to actually implement DDD, the first thing is to actually create my domain model. As I discussed yesterday, quickly I'll revise. Creating a domain model involves identifying your aggregates, aggregate identifiers, entities, and value objects. Right? First of all, you need to design your core domain by identifying these objects. Then you have to identify your domain model operations. What all operations you want to apply on your domain. That means you have to identify your commands, queries, and events. Right? So then you have to decide what all services you want, domain model services. So again, we were discussing yesterday, domain model services can be classified into multiple types. Inbound services, which will take a request into my application, and that inbound services will can either modify my aggregate or query my aggregate. And outbound services, what are these outbound services? Suppose you are having your domain model in your application, you want to save it to database. So maybe your repositories will be your outbound services, right? So you need to decide what all inbound services. Inbound services are mostly like REST controllers, and outbound services are nothing but some logic which will write your database, or some logic which will actually make a call to an external microservice, or some logic which will send an event to your messaging system, etc. And other services are called as application services. Application services will act like a mediator between the inbound services and outbound services. They'll convert the data from inbound services to commands. So don't worry, we will see all step by step. So quickly, we identified yesterday in our booking context, cargo will be my aggregate, and for routing module, yesterday we discussed, it will manage the voyages. So for our cargo company, there will be multiple vehicles. So vehicles will be scheduled from some source to destination. So that vehicle voyages will be managed by routing context. And since it knows about all the vehicles and voyages, it is the best component. It is the best thing to give you the optimal route for a given source and destination and deadline. So cargo internally, as I told you, it makes a call to routing bounded context to get the optimal route and update the cargo. So cargo is an aggregate here, and routing bounded context, we identified voyage is an aggregate. And in handling activity, what does this handling do? As I told you, quickly to revise. Whenever cargo is handled, that means let's say I booked a cargo from Bangalore to Delhi. Whenever cargo is handled, that means it is loaded onto a vehicle or unloaded onto a vehicle. That is a handling activity. So
Hey viewers, our Master in DevOps engineering program can help you to hone the skills necessary to succeed in high-level DevOps positions. So what are you waiting for? Enroll now and earn certification that show you are keeping pace with today's technical roles and requirements. Contact info is mentioned in the video sidebars and in the description box. Book your seats for the upcoming batches now.
This bounded context will take care of handling activity, and this is tracking to track the cargo. This has a functionality to track the cargo. So we have to identify, again, based on the business, based on the context, we have to identify the aggregates. And the next step is you have to identify what will be your aggregate identifier, which is nothing but a business key, right? Then what is an entity? Can you tell me? Next step is to identify your entities. What is an entity? What is the difference between an aggregate and an entity? Anyone can tell me? So entity, does it have an identity of its own? Yes. Aggregates also have identity of their own. But what is the difference between an entity and an aggregate? So entity cannot exist without an aggregate. Yesterday we discussed an example. Order item. Order item always belongs to some order. So order item cannot exist without order, right? But order is having its own identifier. It is a root object, right? So order is an aggregate, order item is an entity. Entities have their own identifiers, but they do not exist without an aggregate. They do not have any meaning, right? So next step will be to identify the entities. So I'll show you. Look, I have identified location. Location is an object in my cargo. It has its own identity, but it cannot exist without a cargo. It does not have any meaning without a cargo. So for cargo aggregate or tracking aggregate or handling activity aggregate, location is a entity. That's also a shared object, is it? Yes. So next step is to identify value objects. So quickly I'll show you through diagram. So cargo class, when the cargo is booked, we know about the source location, destination, and arrival deadline. So what I did is I created a class called as route specification, which contains origin, destination, arrival deadline. This route specification is for a particular cargo. It cannot exist without a cargo, and also it does not have its own identifier. So any such object which does not have its own identifier and it belongs to an aggregate, we call that as a value object. So in this case, route specification is a value object. So now you may get a question, hey, why do you create a class called as route specification? Why can't I have origin, location, and destination location and arrival deadline in the same cargo class? So in your aggregate, make sure that you will not Arvind, it is in full mode only. It is in full mode only, Arvind. Maybe you can zoom it a little bit from your side. Arvind. Yeah. Sure. Okay. Okay. So, so you may ask me, why can't we have these fields inside the cargo itself? To make your aggregate domain rich. So creating your aggregate to contain only primitive types will not give me an idea once I see your aggregate class. Once I see your aggregate class and the field types, I should understand what is the purpose of field type, each field type. So always create value objects wherever possible by combining your data types. Then only your aggregate will be domain rich, right? So now you can see, okay, cargo has a variable of type route specification, which contains information about routing, how to route, right? And cargo has a delivery as a value object, which contains the information about the delivery status. It has all the fields related to delivery status. And yesterday we discussed one cargo, once it is booked, it can have itinerary. Itinerary has list of legs, right? So these are also value types. So I have to identify all entities, aggregates, and value objects. That's the first step, right? So once you are done, then you have to identify what all domain operations. You create your domain model, aggregates, entities, and value objects. And what all operations can we apply on my domain model? That is nothing but commands, queries, events. Commands are the requests that change the state of the bounded context. Queries, they request the state of bounded context, and events, they notify the state changes. So this is the diagram I want you to keep in mind so that I can proceed with code now. So for booking module, book a cargo is a command. It has to create a cargo aggregate. So changing the state, right? Command. Assigning a route to cargo, again to change the state of the cargo. So that is a command. View cargo details. This is a query request. It is actually a query on the state of the aggregate, right? So like that. Now, whenever assign route to cargo is called, my booking module will have to make a REST API call to get the itinerary for the route. Routing module will actually give you the itinerary, and this will update the cargo. Now, whenever any state change is there in a bounded context, an event has to be published so that other bounded context will be notified and they will do the necessary logic. So here my booking module is publishing cargo booked event. And whenever a cargo is routed, it will publish cargo routed event. Tracking module is subscribed to this routing cargo routed event, and it will update its tracking details, right? So cargo handled, these are the events, right? So now let us go and start implementation. Yesterday I was showing you my code. Step by step I will again take you. So this is a start project which I'll be working on right now. And oh wait, this is having all the code, sorry. So just a minute. Just a minute. I'll switch my workspace so that I'll have fresh workspace. Okay. So here is start project. Yes, here I don't have code. Let me step by step show how I'm going to design my application. Of course, I'm not going to write code now, but I'll copy paste wherever possible, but I'll explain. So whenever you are designing your bounded contexts, first thing I will do is I will decide what all are the events published by my booking application, because the event objects, I'll create an event object and publish it, right? The other modules also may need to subscribe the other modules also may need to subscribe to that event. So event object might be a shared object. So generally between bounded contexts, there will be shared domain classes. So basically events will be shared event classes. So here I have com.waitlearnonline.shared domain.model.event. There is a shared domain model where I have event classes. Quickly I'll show you, as they also have shown you. So here is a cargo booked event, and every event will have a corresponding data. Event object will have a data. This is an event class, and it is having getters and setters. So like that, here I have a cargo handled event, cargo routed event, and this is the class which contains the data related to that event. So this is my shared domain model. Then model events, but then again there might be some shared classes. So maybe first thing when you're designing your bounded context, try to avoid shared domain model. Why? Because if you are using shared domain classes in bounded contexts, if in one of the bounded context, if that domain model is modified, that will corrupt the domain model of others, right? So just a minute. Yeah. So yesterday we were discussing in routing module, it manages a routes, is it? So in routing module, according to that business language, we use transit path and transit edge. So yesterday I was discussing, suppose if I want a cargo from Bangalore to Delhi, this is the itinerary. It will go from Bangalore to Pune first, Pune to Mumbai, Mumbai to Delhi, Delhi to customer, right? So this is the whole itinerary, and in itinerary this is a leg. Everything is a leg. But in routing domain, I'm using a different language based on my business. So in routing domain, let's assume that they are calling transit path and transit edge. So what I could do is I could use same classes, transit path and transit edge, in my booking. I can have these classes as shared domain classes, but not a good idea, because who is the owner of this transit path? Routing module. If they change some fields or structure of the data, then if I am using these classes, transit path and transit edge, in my business logic of booking, changes in routing module may corrupt the domain model of booking. So to avoid corruption, we need to actually write a translator, or we need to write an anti-corruption layer, which will convert these domain classes to a domain classes which are used in my booking, right? So still, for whenever my booking makes a REST API call, this will get a transit path only, right? To do the conversion, we still need to have this domain classes in my application, but I will not be using this transit edge and transit path in my business logic. Okay. So let's go ahead. Now the first step is to design our entities and value objects, right? So what I'll do is I will first show you this document. See here, this is a document which I have written step by step explaining what you might need to do. So I will follow the step by step document, and I'll make you understand what it is doing.
Hey viewers, trying to get into DevSecOps? Enroll for our DevSecOps certified professional programs and earn the certification that shows you are fit for these technical roles and requirements. Contact info is mentioned in the video sidebars and in the description box. Book your seats for the upcoming batches now.
So I have a package created called as com.waitlearn.online. This is my website. .booking module, so booking, and domain.module. This is a package where I'll keep all my domain related classes, right? So the first thing is I have actually given, instead of me typing all, I have actually created some classes and I have given here. So these are the classes which I will be copy pasting step by step, but I'll explain you what I am doing. So I have a class called as location. I'll copy paste this into a package called as domain model.entities. So here in my packaging, here I have domain.model.entities. I'll paste this. Here is location.java. It is having a location code, which is an identifier. So I identified this as my entity. So I created the entity. Okay. Then next step is identifying the value objects. So there are a lot of value objects. I'll keep all my value objects in model.value objects. So instead of me creating, here is a folder. I have given this to you also when you are working on the Access, I'll be doing it, but understand what I'm doing. So here are the value objects which I copy pasted. So here you can see, I'll show you route specification is a value object, right? Of course, I'll be using JPA later, Java Persistence API, to save this into a database. So this is annotated with embeddable. That means it will be embedded into some other main object. So this is a value object which has origin location and destination and arrival deadline. So like that, I identified various value objects like booking amount, cargo handling activity, cargo itinerary, leg, voyage, etc. Right? These are all the value objects. Once the value objects are done, I need to identify my aggregates. Right? Before aggregate, what all commands I want? I need to create a command object. Okay. So let me show you this diagram. What are all the commands that I want to apply on booking? Book cargo command, assign route cargo command, right? These are the commands. So I need commands change the state of the aggregate, right? So I'll identify the commands which I can apply on the aggregate. So next step is I'll identify here commands and copy paste into this one. So there are two commands, book cargo command, route cargo command. I'll explain you, don't worry. So here book cargo command is an object, route cargo command is an object. I'll copy paste the commands here. Okay, what are these command objects? If you see here, whenever a cargo has to be booked, whatever information we need for booking a cargo, that variables are there, setters and getters, nothing much. Similarly, for routing a cargo, whatever information is required for routing a cargo, that variables are there, and this is one. Now let me explain you when this cargo command, this commands will be created. Actually, in my application, later I'll be showing you, there will be a REST controller which will take REST API calls. So whenever a cargo has to be booked, the request will come. Book a cargo is a request, REST API call. But whenever cargo has to be booked, some data will be there, right? It might be a post request. They'll be posting, the client might be posting our data. how to book a cargo, right? So normally, whenever some data is coming to our REST controllers, we capture the data using a DTO object, right? Data transfer object. Maybe book cargo DTO, which contains the fields whatever are posted. So REST controller will populate that data to DTO object. Or we can also, in REST terminology, we can call this as book cargo resource. A DTOs, we can assume it as resource, right? So now this request is nothing but a command, right? Any request which will change the state of my aggregate will be a command request. So what we need to fire a command in my, we will apply a command on my aggregate. So we need some logic to convert this resource to a command, because DDD terminology, we don't understand DTOs, right? We understand only commands. We'll apply commands. So I'll have some logic to convert this book cargo DTO or book cargo resource to a book cargo command. And then somehow I need to apply this command on my cargo aggregate, right? So in our aggregate, we need to have some logic for handling commands. Command handling logic has to be written inside our aggregate. So let me show you. You understood, right? How a cargo object, cargo command object will be created. Once the request comes in REST controller, we'll convert the data, whatever is coming. First of all, it will be captured in a resource object. We'll convert the resource to a command, and then we'll delegate to the next layers. So the next layer will apply the command object on the cargo. To apply in cargo, I'll be having command handling logic, command handlers. Let us see now. So these are the command objects, command classes. Now let me go to my aggregate. So cargo is an aggregate, as I told you, and booking ID is its aggregate identifier. I'll copy both of them here. Into what? Domain.model.aggregates. So here is my cargo class, where I modeled it as an entity. Here are all JPA annotations, right? I modeled it as an entity, and it is extending something called as abstract aggregate root. I'll explain you what is the purpose of it. Just see right now. So here I have all the fields related to cargo. Here you can see route specification is embedded, cargo itinerary is embedded, delivery. These are all the value objects. Now, whenever a book cargo command comes, what we need to create a new cargo, right? So here is my command handler. There's a constructor of cargo which is taking my command and creating cargo object. Of course, there's a constructor. So in this case, my constructor is going to be the command handler for a new cargo booking. It is changing the state of the aggregate. So here, if you see, based on the data present in book cargo command, the instance variables of cargo are initialized, right? So new cargo object is created. So whenever a new cargo object is created, do you need to actually publish an event called as cargo booked, right? Then only the other modules will be notified. So I need to publish an event called as cargo booked once booking is done. But immediately after creating a cargo object in your application, do you want to publish this? No, right? So you want to publish an event only when cargo is committed to database. So just immediately after my constructor is executed, it is not persisted to database, only object I created. But event should be published only after committing the transaction, right? So here you can see in the constructor, what I'm doing, I created an object of cargo booked event with the cargo booked event data. Basically, here I created the event, but I'm not publishing. I am calling a method called as add domain event. This is a method add domain event where I'm passing the event object. And here I'm calling a method called as the register event. Register event. Actually, I'm using Spring Data JPA in my logic. Spring Data JPA. So basically, whenever entity is committed using Spring Data, we want to execute some logic. So Spring Data JPA gives us a class called as abstract aggregate root, which has only one method, register event. That's what I have extended, and I have called a register event method here. Later I'll connect you, but just understand, I'm not publishing a new event here. I'm just registering the event. So later I'll show you the code of Spring Data JPA. Later I'll be committing the transaction to database using JPA. Once the transaction is committed, and if this cargo entity is committed to database, right, what we can do, we can have listeners, transaction event listeners provided by JPA. So once we register an event like this, later I'll show you transaction event handlers that will be invoked, and there I'll be having a logic to push those entities to my RabbitMQ. I'll be using RabbitMQ, and of course I'll be using Spring Cloud Stream. I will show you the logic. So this is one command handler constructor, which is taking book cargo command. And there is one more handler, assign to route. Once cargo is created, we'll assign a route to cargo. So here is route cargo command. So this is another command handler in my aggregate, which will take route cargo command and update. See here, it is updating the itinerary, delivery status, etc.
Hey viewers, are you looking for formal training on SRE practices? Take our SRE program. This course will teach you how to successfully implement site reliability engineering in the modern day 24/7 services. Kickstart your SRE training today. Contact info is mentioned in the video sidebars and in the description box. Book your seats for the upcoming batches now.
And then again here, it is adding the event called as cargo routed. Immediately after this is executed, no, we are not publishing the event yet. We just added it, register this event, right? We are calling add domain event, where I'm calling registry event, right? So that will register, and whenever we register an event from this abstract aggregate root, we can write transactional listeners, where whenever a transaction is committed, the event object also will be passed, and there I can write a logic to publish to my RabbitMQ also, right? This is my aggregate. Okay, aggregate is done. So now domain model objects. So what, as I told you, just I'll go through this. Domain model operations within a bounded context deal with any kind of operation that is associated with state change. So as I told you, there are multiple operations, domain model operations, inbound operations and outbound operations, right? So commands are responsible for changing the state of the aggregate. As I told you, I explained about my book cargo command and route cargo command, right? So I explained you all this. Now I will talk about infrastructure services. So as I told you, there will be one more service called as outbound services. Outbound services take the state of the aggregate to outside, right? So your repositories can be an example of outbound services, right? So I have a class called as cargo repository.java, which has a logic to persist. So I'll just copy cargo repository and I'll explain you. Here is my cargo repository. I will copy it to booking.infrastructure.repositories package. Yep, see this one. This is an interface. So if you know data JPA, if I just write an interface, automatically the implementations will be generated by Spring Data JPA, right? So you can understand that this is a class. It will take my state of the aggregate to outside a repository, right? So this is one outbound service. Similarly, I will copy cargo event source. Okay, let me copy. I'll show you cargo event source. I'll copy it to event event.brokers. Here, infrastructure.brokers. Okay, let me explain you what is this event source. If you remember Spring messaging, Spring Cloud Stream. In Spring Cloud Stream, whenever I want to send a message to an exchange in RabbitMQ, what I do, I put a message in a channel, right? So once I put a message in channel, automatically the channel will be bound to an exchange in or broker. The message goes. So here is an interface, cargo event source. As I told you, if I write an interface, automatically the implementation will be generated. So I need to map these channels to exchanges, right? Let me show you my application YML here. Yes, here you can see I wrote spring.cloud.stream.bindings .cargo booking channel. Is a channel with name cargo booking channel? Yes. This is mapped to a destination called as cargo bookings, and the binder is Rabbit. Here is my configuration to connect to Rabbit. Similarly, cargo routing channel is mapped to cargo routings. Cargo handling channel is mapped to cargo handling. So here I wrote the binding of channel to destinations. If I write an interface, automatically an implementation will be generated if in your configuration, if you enable binding, right? So here I am enabling the binding and I'll import this, right? So if I enable binding, an implementation will be generated, which will actually generate the implementation. Then I'll be able to use this interface to send messages to RabbitMQ. So is this also an outbound service? Yes, using this, I'll be actually sending a message out of my application, right? So repositories can take the message out, and this is also which will take a message out to the broker, right? I wrote this. So then application services. So application services act as a facade for bounded context domain model. They provide facade services to dispatch commands to the underlying domain model. Okay, this is a bit confusing. Just see here. I'll show you what I mean. First of all, I'll copy the code and I'll explain you. I have a class called as external cargo routing. First point, I'll copy this. External cargo routing. And here I'll paste it in outbound services. Hey, sorry, it has to paste in outbound services. Here is an outbound service. You can see external cargo routing service. This is a class which will make an outbound call again. One more. Okay. Outbound call. It has a logic to use REST template. And I hard coded right now the URL of my routing application. This is going to be the URL of my routing application. I hard coded. And here I am making a call to the cargo routing application using REST template. As I told you, that will give me transit path. Okay. But I told you that I don't want to use transit path in my application code. So I need to convert this to a itinerary object. See here, this method is returning itinerary, cargo itinerary. So I need to write an anti-corruption layer, which will convert the data, whatever is given by routing module, to a domain model of my application. So here I wrote a method called as toCargoIternary. See here, what is it doing? This toCargoIternary. It is taking the transit path object, and this is having a logic to convert transit path to a cargo itinerary, and internally it is converting the edge to a leg, right? This method, I can say this is the anti-corruption layer conversion method, which will convert the routing service domain model to a domain model recognized by my booking bounded context. So normally, where do we write the anti-corruption layer logic? Inside an outbound service only. Here, this is the logic of my anti-corruption layer. So this is actually acting, this class is an outbound service, and here it is having a logic to convert the other bounded context domain model to my own domain model of this module, right? Okay. So whenever you are making a call to external bounded context, you need to have an anti-corruption layer logic like this. So in my booking module, I'm going to use cargo itinerary. I will not use transit path. So tomorrow, if routing module changes its logic, I will change this conversion logic, but my business logic will remain same. Okay. So that I have done. Then I'll show you one more service called as cargo booking command service. What is this service? Cargo booking command service. I'll copy it to command services, application.internal.command services. So see what it is doing. So cargo booking command service is having a method called as book cargo, which will take the command object, right? And here it is calling the command handler. It is applying the command on my aggregate. Okay, let me explain you. Let me spend some time on this here. So I told that whenever a REST API call is coming, let's say book cargo, this is a request, REST API call request, which will actually change the state of my aggregate. This is a command, right? So normally what we do, we write REST controllers. This REST controller is nothing but a inbound service. I'll tell you later. Inbound service. The inbound service, whenever it gets some data, it will create a resource object with the data. And it has to convert the resource to command object. Then it has to invoke a service See, we'll have layers, right? Presentation layer, service layer, and repository layer or data access layer. So REST control belongs to presentation layer. So now it got a resource. It has to convert the resource to command, and it has to invoke the logic. So it will delegate to a service, which is nothing but a application service. We call this service as application services. What this application service will do, it will take a command. It will take a command object from the presentation layer, that means REST controller, and its responsibility is to apply that command to aggregate. So can I say that this application service is acting as a facade between my domain model? My domain model is what? Aggregate. Who will invoke my aggregate? The REST controller will not aggregate. It will invoke an application service. Application service will invoke aggregate. So I can say that application service will act as a facade to my domain model, and this facade is responsible for either invoking the external outbound services or invoking your repositories. So application services in DDD are nothing but objects which acts as a facade between your inbound services and outbound services and your domain model, right? So this application services act as a facade for the bounded context domain model. They provide facade services to dispatch commands or queries to underlying domain model. Now let's see here. Here in cargo booking command service, here I have written logic. There's a method book cargo which will take a command. Who will invoke this book cargo? Later I'll be showing. REST controller will be invoking a method on application service book cargo, and here it is taking the command and it is applying that command to the aggregate. As I told you, this cargo is having a constructor. This is a command handler, right? Okay, so 1 minute, just a minute. Okay, so I'm back. This is one command handler for booking a command. Now what will happen? I'm creating a cargo object. This command handler is invoked. It is changing the state of the cargo. And here, by using repository, I'm saving the cargo, right? Once a cargo is saved, let's say the transaction is completed successfully. Once the cargo is saved, what will happen? If you see here my cargo class, here I have registered an event, right? Cargo booked event. My cargo is extending abstract aggregate route. So a event is registered here. So whenever a transaction is complete, I may want my transaction listeners to be executed, which should publish the actual event. So let me show you here. Just see. Just a minute. One minute. Here I have, yes. Okay. here I have written this one. I'll copy this and paste here. Yes. Now just observe this one. Here, this is a class event publisher service where I have a method annotated with transactional event listener. Right? Whenever a transaction is committed and if there are any events registered, see here, I have registered cargo booked event. Whenever a cargo object is created, I registered an event called as cargo booked event. So whenever this cargo is committed to database, transaction is success, right? So automatically this method annotated with transactional event listener will be executed and the event will be passed here. So if you see the code, what I'm doing, I'm injecting cargo event source here.
Thanks for watching. Want to study further? Join our training programs today.